Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at Storm Collectibles' new Mike Tyson Final Round action figure, which is very similar to the other one that they made that I reviewed not that long ago, but it is different. So if you're a big fan of Mike Tyson, which I suppose is a thing that people are, this is something you might be interested in. It's actually a pretty solid figure for being so basic. Definitely one of their less detailed releases, but that doesn't mean they did a bad job. So there's going to be some stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 18.5 centimeters, which makes him just about 7.25 inches. So it's definitely not 12 scale. It's definitely bigger than that because he's not 7 feet tall. But it will fit in with the rest of their action figures, which are still labeled as 12 scale, I believe, but they shouldn't be. So be aware of that. He's definitely a little bit bigger than your standard 6-inch figure, as people like to say, but it does fit in line with their other figures. Aesthetically speaking, it is what you would expect it to be. The shorts are actually shorts. They do have an actual elastic waistband Everlast logo. Same thing for the gloves here with the Everlast logo. There's shading on the gloves. Not a whole lot of shading on the skin. I do think there's a little bit, but it's incredibly subtle. They do have a lot of tattoos on him though, which is, I suppose, appropriate for the character. So you do have that on his arm, you have one on his stomach, you have some more on his other arm, and then you have the infamous face tattoo, which is definitely on his face. So this is older Mike Tyson. If you really wanted that, then this is what you get. And aesthetically speaking, it's okay. I have one issue with mine, which is that there's some kind of folded, like, creasy spot on his muscle right there, which I don't believe is supposed to be there, so it's a little bit strange. But otherwise, it's fairly basic, but they really nailed the head sculpt, and they did a good job with the tattoos. So I'm going to give it a decent rating for the aesthetic. I'm going to say 9 out of 10. I think it looks pretty good, so that's a pretty good rating. As far as accessories go, we only have 3 heads, and that's it. We have the neutral head that comes on him in the package, one where he's biting his lip in an awkward way, and then one where he's got his mouth open. And they're all sculpted well and painted well, so that's pretty good. So quality of the individual accessories is pretty high. Number of accessories pretty low though, even though it's appropriate for the figure, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Nothing special, but it is what it should have. And as far as the articulation goes, it's pretty much your standard Storm Collectibles articulation, but we'll run through it anyway. The head is on a double ball peg, which connects down here under the neck, and of course up at the head, so you can move it around a little bit in a more natural way, and that it looks good, works nicely, no problems there. We have a ball peg connecting the arm to the torso underneath the pecs, and this is just a floating piece, so that works nicely. You can raise the arm up better than horizontal, no problem at all. Nice and smooth articulation. Same thing for the rotation in the ball peg. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow, not the best range in the world, just a little bit better than 90 degrees on that side. This side, slightly better, but still not the most range in the world, so be aware of that. They did do a good job painting the gloves. I want to point that out. I know I mentioned it briefly, but they do look nice. For the wrists, you have your ball hinge that you have on the other figures, and the ball peg part doesn't really do anything on this one though, so it's essentially just your standard ball hinge, which is fine. You don't really need to use it very much, and the gloves are flexible enough that you can, but you won't get a ton of range out of it. For the torso, we have a double ball peg, I believe. It could just be a sloppy single, but it feels like a double. Leans back pretty well, leans forward almost none. Side to side is okay, and then rotation is okay. You're going to do some of your posing down here with the lower torso though, which is another single ball peg, and that leans forward really far and leans back really far, and side to side not far at all. And then rotation is very stuck on this. I can feel it wanting to twist that ball peg, so be very careful rotating the lower torso. If you really need to, rock him back and forth as you do it, and you'll be able to, and that'll be fine. You don't have as much of a risk of breakage, but it's very, very stuck, very tight on that ball peg, so be careful with that, but it is functional. And then for the hips, we have the newer type of hips from Storm, which is kind of basically a ball hinge, but the legs go pretty far out to the side, almost full on splits, so that's really good. And the shorts do move no problem, so that's fine. And then bringing the leg forward, it's a little stiff, but basically you get your full range there. Going backward, almost full range, so that's really good. You do have a thigh swivel, double jointed knee, which is functional. The ankle has a rotation at the top of the boot, which is fantastic. I love that they did that, because then when you use the ankle rocker, you can rotate it and you can really get that ankle offset. Very, very nicely done. As far as leaning the foot back, it goes really far, and leaning the foot forward, not very far, but a little bit. You get a little bit out of it. Then you do get a toe hinge, which is stiffer than most toe hinges, so it might be useful. Not the best looking, but it is fairly functional. So all in all, like I said, it's a fairly basic figure, but with the exception of the one ball peg being pretty stuck, it's a pretty functional figure. I don't think many people will have too many complaints about it, and it should be, it looks good, it poses well, you know, it should be fine. So the articulation on this guy, I'm gonna give, I guess, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 because the show elbows being only 90 degrees and the ankle is not going too far forward, and then that one stuck joint. So 8 out of 10. Still highly posable, highly realistic looking. Should be a good release for pretty much anybody who wants to buy this figure. So yeah, I think I'm going to definitely recommend it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 overall, and I think you guys will be pretty happy if you're into this sort of thing. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you didn't, well, I've got thousands of other videos for you to check out on the channel. You'll probably enjoy at least one of them. So go ahead and check those out. They're organized in playlists to help you find what you're looking for. And if none of that tickles your fancy, I do have new uploads almost every single day, so make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.